Welcome everyone. So I've noticed that lately we've been getting quite a few new plant parents on the channel. You guys are new to the hobby, and so I thought it would be great to do a video just recommending some plants that are really good for beginners. And the first one I would recommend is this one. This is the Peperomia obtusifolia, and it's a really fast grower and super easy to care for. So long as you don't overwater it and you just let it dry out between waterings, it's just so easy. I got this one last year. It was actually winter when I bought mine, so this is the first growing season that I've had it, but it's grown so beautifully. I recently repotted it, so it's in a slightly bigger pot, but it's just grown so beautifully. I mean, look at those big glossy leaves. They really are stunning. So I found this one to be really easy to grow. As I say, the key ingredient really is make sure you don't overwater it. Simply let it dry out between waterings. And the other thing I do with this one is I give it plenty of light. So I do have it on my kitchen windowsill, so it does get a little bit of direct sun, but not a huge amount. So it's like maybe a couple of hours in the afternoon, but the rest of the time it gets really good bright and direct light, and it seems to be really happy there. So yeah, I'd say definitely experiment with most plants. Some plants can get scorched with direct sun, so definitely be a little bit careful. But yeah, some of them can take a little bit of direct sun, you'd be surprised, but I think most people recommend bright and direct light because, you know, there's no chance of them being burned. If you notice your plant fading or scorching at all, just move it a little bit away from the window and it should be fine. But I find this one really does like really nice bright light, and yeah, as I say, it's grown amazingly. These leaves are huge. I mean, this one was probably about half the size. Let's say it was about here when I got it. Yeah, and it's just really flourished. And I think it makes such a good beginner plant because, as I say, it just is so easy to care for, and it's very rewarding to grow too. And I think if you're just starting out with plants, it can be quite nice to have a plant that rewards you with some really nice fast growth. Another plant that I think you will find really easy and satisfying to grow if you're brand new to the hobby is this one. This is the Philodendron painted lady. And honestly, this is one of the easiest philodendrons, and the reason I'd recommend it to beginners is because it's really easy to care for, but it looks beautiful. I mean, look at that, it's got those red stems and petioles, and then the leaves have really beautiful variegation on them. They start out a little bit more yellowy, and then they kind of fade out a bit more to green. But yeah, if you're looking for something a little bit more unusual with a little bit more sort of colour to it, then I definitely recommend this one. This one is just so easy to care for. I just do the same as I recommended with the other plant really. I don't give this one any direct sun, it only gets bright indirect light, but I do let it pretty much dry out all the way. I wait until maybe there's just a bit of moisture left in the bottom of the pot, and that's all I really do with this one, and then I repot it as it grows, and it's just so easy and it grows so beautifully. It's a fairly fast grower for a philodendron too, and I think that it would make a really good beginner plant. I think it would help you with your confidence if you're new to plants and you like something that looks really pretty but isn't going to be really difficult or dramatic for you, because, you know, when we're first starting out, I think it can be a little bit off-putting when we choose plants that are a bit difficult, and that might put some people off if they don't know what they're buying and they buy something really difficult and it doesn't survive. That might make you think, oh, I'm not very good with plants, but it's probably not you, it's just a type of plant. So this one is a really good choice because, as I say, it's very low maintenance and very forgiving, and yeah, it can be left to dry out quite a bit before you water it. Definitely let it dry out more in winter, and in summer you'll find that it dries out faster. That's the same with any plant. So this next one is called Aglaonema aqua green, and I'd actually recommend pretty much any Aglaonema, to be honest, if you're new to plants. Aglaonemas in general are really easy, so if you don't fancy this one or you can't find this one, just look for another type of Aglaonema. But this one I just absolutely love, so I thought I'd show you this one as an example. This one has kind of really beautiful green, bluey, yellow variegation to it, and Aglaonemas are really, really easy growers. They grow easy, they're really fuss free. They do like to dry out between waterings too, so if you tend to forget to water your plants a little bit, that's okay. Definitely one of the biggest beginner mistakes, I think, is watering your plant too often when it doesn't need a drink yet. Definitely let that soil dry out before you give this one a watering. Aglaonemas can tolerate drying out completely, I find, and yeah, again, the only thing you could really do wrong with this is probably if you overwater it, because overwatering can cause root rot. But Aglaonema in general are just super easy plants. This one I'd highly recommend because I think it's just got such beautiful colours in the leaves. This is a recent one that I got, but I've been keeping Aglaonemas for years, and the only way I've lost an Aglaonema is by accidentally overwatering it during winter. So yeah, it's just really important to cut back on your watering when they are in their winter stage, when it's colder, when there's not as much light, that kind of thing, because they're not using as much water. But these come in all sorts of varieties. I'll just show you another one as an example. This one is Aglaonema pastella, and you can see again it's got completely different variegation in the leaves, but it's absolutely stunning. These are a really good alternative to calatheas. Calatheas are definitely not something you want to go for as a beginner probably, but Aglaonemas, you get that same beautiful patterning on the leaves. Loads of variegation types. These come in literally all kind of colours you can think of. Type a search in of Aglaonema and you'll see how many different ones there are. But yeah, you can basically take your pick of whichever one speaks to you, but they're all super easy, super low maintenance, and they make excellent beginner plants. Or even if you're not a beginner like me, I still love collecting them because they're beautiful, and I like easy plants too. Another super hardy and easy houseplant is this one. This is the Heartleaf Philodendron, and you can see how beautiful and lush those heart-shaped leaves are. This is another fast grower too, so you can grow this one trailing as I have it, or you can get it to grow up something if you'd like it to be a climber. But this one is a really, really good beginner plant because it really does grow well. It's very forgiving, and yeah, it can go long periods without being watered, so definitely if you let that soil dry out, it's not going to throw a tantrum. It would definitely prefer its soil to dry out between waterings, and that's what I do. I just let it dry out between waterings and then yeah, give it bright indirect light. It is actually tolerant as well, this one, of lower light situations. Now when it comes to putting plants in lower light situations, they can grow a lot slower and you may notice smaller leaves, so just be aware of that. But certainly this one is quite adaptable, is the point I'm making. So if you're a beginner and you're not quite sure about your light levels, this one will probably be okay wherever you put it. But I'd recommend, for optimum growth, bright indirect light, because then you haven't got the direct light scorching the leaves, but you haven't got it so dark that it's going to stunt the plant's growth. But I just really do recommend this one. You will find this one very satisfying because it grows very fast, and you can buy a small plant like this one I have here. I just bought this as a baby plant, and it's already getting really lovely and full. And yeah, this one will grow into a nice big full luscious plant for you in no time. So as a beginner, that's really nice, I think, to get a plant that will grow fast and will give you satisfaction and make you feel like you're actually getting somewhere. I think that's really important, because you could be put off if you buy something that just kind of shrivels up within a week when you bring it home. This beautiful sculpture plant is called Dracaena moonshine, otherwise known as a snake plant, and The kind of more common snake plant you tend to see is the one with the yellow variegated leaves, but this one I think is absolutely stunning, and I always recommend it to beginners because it's so beautiful but so easy. And yeah, I find this one to be so easy growing, and it has such beautiful colouring to it. I don't think it properly shows up on camera, to be honest, but it has this sort of beautiful moonshine to it, hence the name, but it's a little bit more prominent in the new leaves. I don't know if you can see there, but they do tend to come out a little bit more moonshiny and then they fade out a bit. But yeah, I just absolutely love this one. I think it's the best snake plant out there personally. It's very calming on the eye compared to some of the other ones with the more yellow kind of variegation, I think, at least. And it's a really easy grower so long as you let it dry out completely between waterings and you make sure it's getting bright indirect light. It's going to grow really well for you. Now, it's not the fastest grower, but for a snake plant I would say it grows at a reasonable rate. So yeah, don't expect it to grow super fast or anything, but I think it's still worth it because yeah, it just is such a beautiful plant, and it gives a bit of variation to your plant display. So you could have this next to a trailing plant so that you've got two different kind of levels and shapes of leaves, because it looks quite nice when you kind of style different types of plants together. They really tend to stand out more and you can appreciate their differences more. This next one is Scindapsus pictus, and this is another trailing plant that is really low maintenance and easy to care for. And this one actually has some beautiful silvery variegation, but this is known for being one of the most hardy plants that you can get. So again, this one will definitely tolerate drying out between watering, and you definitely want to let the soil dry out between watering and also give it some nice bright indirect light if you want it to grow to its best. However, having said that, this one is actually very adaptable and it is very tolerant of different lighting conditions, so it can handle lower light situations. But as I always say, if you put a plant in a lower light situation, you are going to find that it doesn't grow to its full potential and it may grow slower with smaller growth. But yeah, it's a little bit more adaptable though, so it's probably not just going to kind of keel over if you do accidentally put it in a low light area. But for optimum growth, I definitely recommend bright indirect light. That's the kind of light that the majority of easy care plants tend to grow the best in. So if you're brand new to plants and you're in kind of doubt about how much light to give your plant, don't let the direct sun hit it, don't put it in a dark spot, just make sure it's got that bright light that isn't direct and you should be okay. There are of course exceptions, but yeah, this one definitely prefers bright indirect light, and I think you'll find it quite rewarding too because it is a really easy grower. My next recommendation would be this one. This is Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and this is another super fast climbing plant. And if you don't have room for a big Monstera but you like the split leaves, Rhaphidophora tetrasperma is an excellent option, and it kind of stays about this size. The leaves don't get huge, and even though it's a vining plant that will climb if you give it something to climb, you can also have it as a trailing plant as well, so it's quite versatile. But this is a really fast grower, and just be careful of overwatering again. I think that's probably the biggest beginner mistake that a lot of people make. Let the soil dry out between waterings, don't overwater it, and you should be fine. Once it gets going, this one is quite a prolific grower, and you'll find that it's pretty satisfying to grow, I would say, because it's a fast grower. And if you want something that's going to kind of fill out very quickly and give you that jungly feel, this is going to be the one for you. And if you want your plant to be fuller and you want more vines in the pot, this one is also super easy to propagate, so you can just chop and prop it and then add more plants back into the pot. So it makes a really good propagation project as well. But as with the other plants that I've showed you, the care I give this one is just to give it bright and direct light, and I just make sure to let that soil dry out before I water it again, because it can be quite sensitive to root rot if you do overwater it, so definitely be careful of that. Make sure you've got a nice well draining soil mix and you should be fine, but I just think it's a stunning plant and really easy to get hold of too. So you know, if you're on the hunt for some of the plants on this list, this one should be one of the ones that you should find really easily. It tends to be sold all over the place, so I think you will probably find this one pretty easy to get hold of. Another super easy plant for beginners is this one. This is Monstera adansonii. This one is actually the mint version, but the mint version and the green version, they have exactly the same care needs. Maybe this one just needs slightly more light because of its variegation, but as a whole, the plant is very easy to care for. And again, this one is a climber and a trailer, so you could choose to let this trail and it would get smaller leaves if you did that, or you could get it to climb a pole, and it does tend to grow a bit faster if you give it a pole, and it also tends to get bigger leaves as well, so bear that in mind. But it's a very fast growing plant, this one. Very easy to care for and quite forgiving too. I think it's kind of a really good plant to have as a sort of staple in a houseplant collection. And yeah, unlike the Monstera deliciosa, it doesn't take up quite as much space because you can grow it vertically or you can have it on a shelf, whereas Monstera deliciosa tends to kind of get quite big and take up a lot of space. But it depends on how much space you've got really. But I would highly recommend this one. It always brings me a lot of joy, and it's one of the plants that I really loved when I first got into plants, and even today, after I've kind of been into plants for many years, I still love it, and it's still one of my favourites. I think it's an absolutely beautiful plant. So yeah, highly recommend this one, whether you get the green version or the mint version, but either version is just as satisfying to grow. And again, this one is super easy to get hold of. You'll probably find it everywhere, so I don't think you'll have a problem in finding it. So this next one is actually kind of the same plant as the Heartleaf Philodendron. Well, it is the same plant, only this one is variegated. This is Philodendron Brasil, and instead of having just the green leaves, it has these splashes of lime green on it. And I always love to recommend this one to beginners because it's a super fast grower, very satisfying to grow and very forgiving too. It's quite an adaptable plant, so it makes a really good beginner plant because you get a nice full luscious plant in no time. It's really cheap to get too, so it's not going to cost you the earth to buy this one, and yeah, it's just a beautiful plant. So I have both the Heartleaf and this one in my collection. As I say, they're both basically the same plant, only this one's got the variegation, and I think they're both stunning, and yeah, I would highly recommend both to you. This one again, you can have it trailing as I have it here, and it's a beautiful trailing plant. You can also get it growing up something as well if you'd prefer to have a climbing plant. Both ways I think are just as nice, but it's just personal preference as to what you like. This one's also super easy to propagate too, so if you would like to get into propagating, this is a great plant to start with as well. I hope that maybe you found some plants today to put on your wish list, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.